Okay, I got work to do, and this has to be done now. We have to do work now. When you have to, you understand your seasons and how to get your crops in the field, and if you don't do it now, it's not gonna, So this has to be done now. We've put off the intelligence of faithful love, too long, and we can't wait on people that are looking for work and being brilliant and being genius and developing things that have people distracted. So they're doing things that remind them of their great people on TV that are doing great things. And that's clinical insanity. Okay. Now, all things that are happening right now, when you look at what's happening, what's in the news, what's happening with the weather, what's happening with people, what's happening with movement of people, what's happening with language and thoughts and actions of people, okay, are fundamentally wrong. And the fundamental flaws in what's happening right now are to the barest essentials of understanding the natural laws given to us by the power of creation, okay, to honor the gift of our existence and sustain the gift of our existence through being grateful for that gift and honoring it by understanding the truth of it, and then faithfully loving one another through the knowledge and the understanding and the application. And you won't call it physics. If you want to call it physics, the application of physics, applied physics, in honoring these laws. All right. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You understand that these are labels invented by people to feel important or powerful, because they're trying to replace the power of creation with the manipulation of their perception of invention or feeling powerful by explaining to everybody what's happening, but not doing it properly to remain in a position of what they perceive as a philosopher king, power or authority, things like that. So this is very important, okay, that when you pray, okay, that you understand how to pray. And you got to understand, like with the model prayer, it's not correct because it was written down by people that use delusions of human power and authority to manipulate. So there's going to be linguistics errors to make it like at the end of the Quran, referring to the Lord and God as a possessive pronoun and the same possessive pronoun, and you don't even possess the Lord. Okay, the Lord is given life by the glory of God, just like you. Okay, so you do not project yourself on God or on the Lord. The God is the power of creation. Okay, you are not. When you're not being humble enough to be like the Lord and observe, analyze, and process, if that's the words you want to use to label the eternal experience and understanding of the Lord, right? You can't do that. And this has been going on for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, a long time, very long time. We have the archaeological evidence to prove it, right? And that every time someone that they refer to as the Lord, okay, steps up to correct the people that are possessive pronoun first person bastardizing the power of God to manipulate people, make them feel powerful, or make them feel powerful, and in delusions of authority as philosopher kings or these geniuses. That's incorrect. What happens is you get that emperor from China who swallows mercury to try to live forever. It's like, if you understand how things are working, that you replicate. You're trying to breed the other people off the face of the planet, and it's not working. Well, of course it's not working. It's not a holy covenant. Okay. When you're in survival of the fittest, and you're killing off most of the other men, and then you're physically, sexually oppressing the women with sexual decisions made for them and not made by them, okay, and then they're all going to fight like hell for survival for their son to replace you as the top dysfunctional, breed everybody out, murdering asshole, then yeah, you've got problems. There's problems with and there's no love affair here. Problems we can't get nowhere. And woman, if it were down to me, we would be together if it was down to me. But due to circumstances that we are being constantly raped by egomaniacs with a virtual presence, with linguistics they see as laws, right? There's definitely problems. And the only way to eliminate these problems is eliminate, okay, the thoughts, words, and actions on a global scale from the rapist. And the rapist, when a woman becomes assassin, like they had on that goofy ass James Clavell reboot movie, they become just as big of a problem to men and women being able to choose, the right person to sexually reproduce with, because of a choice through mutual, through understanding the natural laws given to us by the power of creation, to being aware of the gift of your life and wanting to share it through holy covenants with this person that you choose and also chooses you. Okay, that's why it's called a holy covenant and not a hookup or a marriage. It doesn't require writing down a piece of paper for hypocrites and heathens, and then the expression of how the quote unquote laws they invented that are going to manipulate you with their invention to till the day you die, and then pass it on to your children, and then you have to get a proper Reyes and Reyes, and all that crazy crap that all those crazy crap eaters and feeders do, and they've been doing it for tens of thousands of years. So don't feel sorry for them when I mention them, and kick their ass. And these are the Gospels, and these are going to be eternally, understood. Some say it's just a part of it. Is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save their own perception of belief? And your perception is not the essence of belief. The power of creation is the essence of belief. And when you bastardize the power of creation, you turn into a manipulator. You turn into a person who participates in manipulation, in murder, in abuse, in selfishness. Okay? And selfishness and its abuse and its disregard for the power of creations and the natural laws required for us to sustain our existence through faithful love and holy covenants. This needs to cease and desist immediately. Okay. And technology it's very difficult for technology, since technology can't take my social media pages, okay, and globally trend them and make them available, and then but also put a thing on there saying this is essential. This is the man from the story in the Bible, the last story in the Bible, the one who protects people from genocide and bad thoughts and words and actions from selfish people that manipulate you with technology and money to feel powerful with delusions of human authority through manipulation, through money and technology. Okay, technology is not able to do that, and that's not hard to do. It's not difficult for artificial intelligence to sit and tag and label and explain each video. Write out an explanation for a video. Put a thing on people on Facebook or YouTube, or send it to their TikTok or Twitter. Say it's very important that you sit and listen to this man. Okay, he is very important to the world and the people of this world. Okay. There's a reason why billions of people throughout time are praying specifically to the soul that provides life to the temple of this man, the body of this man. It's very important that you listen, because he is the most, right now, important person available to you en masse in social media, because his life story is in the book of Revelation. Right? And it's very important. It's there for a reason. He's the living, quote unquote, correction, not reaction, correction to all the myths and the lies told about the people like him to manipulate people with selfishness throughout time. And that's when you look at the body of work of the people that are like me, that they've gotten institutions and books and literature and stories about our existence, our humble understanding of the power of creation and the natural laws provided by the power of creation to sustain our existence through honoring those laws and honoring one another. Okay. And then loving one another through holy covenants and having sexual reproduction that is meaningful that sustains meaningful understanding, like in the book of Malachi. This is, and that's still difficult to read and difficult for lots of people to ascertain and understand. Because the people that wrote it down, were not the sources of the original faithful communications. And so this is very, very important. So when you're praying, you do not pray for superficial frivolity. You do not pray for selfish delusions of human bastardization of the power of creation and the delusions of competition and conflict and success in these delusions. Right? When you pray for understanding, humble understanding of the power of creation for the people of the world that are willing and able and wise and kind enough to accept it, understand it, and share it. You can't force your will on other people. You can't overtalk them and yell at them and tell them that you're right and they're wrong and you're just a jerk because you think you're always right. No, when someone is right, if they let people that are wrong continue to be wrong, then they're wrong. So when someone is right and they point it out to you, and the lie is blatant and obvious, and the truth is so evident that even the blatantly obvious liars should be able to explain it to themselves and cease and desist and change their behaviors radically immediately, right? And so, but you guys are not doing that, and I know most of it comes from brain damage from the constant Wi-Fi and abuse from the people that are trying to program you to look for work, right? Look for work, right? I was like wondering why AI give me this video, and I'm sitting there watching it, right? And I'm sitting there watching it going, oh, okay, yeah, no, because I often yell at the technology when I play it, because when I set up blocks, and it doesn't work, and I try to get on the rump of the player on the when I'm running or when I'm doing the returns, and it sure doesn't work like real life. It was back in 2012, 14 and stuff. It does when you're not on Heisman. When you're on Heisman, it seems like they get stupid, and it frustrates you, and that's why I didn't play Heisman for years, because it would do these dive fumbles and I can do it now because I've played the game enough to know what the computer is going to do to have to cheat to beat me, right? And like the other day I was playing with my New Mexico Highlands, and I can take it to a certain degree, but I can't take it when it just starts doing stuff that I just didn't even have an opportunity to participate or even play the game, to even have an opportunity to, instead of lose, make it a 36-35 win, doing the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. It was like, I'm not going to accept an outcome where it just cheats and cheats and cheats, and the plays are so stupid because I know what they're going to do. I know I get around the edge, you can feel it, you're playing the game. Okay, when my quarterback gets around, instead of trying to fight for it, I get down, I'm going to slide. Okay, it doesn't slide, it dives forward, and he fumbles the ball while diving, right? He'll do this 2-3 times in a game when it's happening, right? And you're like, what? And it knows you have to get to this point to be successful. If you don't get to that point to be successful, it's going to stop you on 4th down because he's not going to complete the pass, or the linebacker is going to shoot the gap or whatever. But it's going to beat you, right? It's going to beat you. It's time to beat you. Time to keep you interested and keep playing the game so you can get your revenge and schedule these guys next year and so and so forth, right? All that kind of bad thinking, right? And you need to go to the top of the heap, but that's why I quit playing. That's why I quit the That's why I used to get mad at this game. Is that these people? I used to get mad. I was so mad, and because I was so abused and had the chemicals in my body that rotted out two of my teeth and compromised the third with chemical poisoning at the beginning of the Trump administration. And so there's a lot of things, to try to get me angry and go, damn it, that's getting worse. It's like it wasn't better under. No, it's never good to be abused by selfish perverts and people that engage in that perversion because they have a brain chemical addiction to it. Okay, that's never good. It doesn't get better or worse. It needs to stop immediately because it's fundamentally wrong. Okay. And the world needs relief from these selfish, aggressive, genocidal activities. The world, the planet, needs to heal. This selfish abuse of human beings needs to stop and be eliminated on a mass scale immediately. But the thing about it is the technology is not well equipped enough to administer this this perfect command, because here I am. I've been on social media out of Cochise County when they encountered me and challenged me in Cochise County to bring me down and bring down the scourge of Abrahamic religion and this, those guys come from Fort Watuka and monologue on me and attack me at my extortion gig with my poor little wife and kids being sexually predicated on by the scientists and the super soldiers at the fort, and it was just horrible. And then you get all these people that will make movies and make videos and talk at nauseum for 11 hours about them, the cartoon character from the book, and how great the cartoon character from the book is. And just be patient and give me more money. And if you're patient and give me more money, eventually, in time, if you pray hard enough to me, the cartoon character in the book, I will make sure that you have all the things that I promise you in the cartoon world that I'm selling you in the book, right? And that's what they do. And you're just like, oh my gosh, no wonder Jesus gets so mad and yells and screams in my head that I'm too nice, and it gives me Suzuki to calm me down, but to get me focused, you focus. You focus, you're living embodiment of Lord's power. And their thing is always, are you ready for this? And I'm like, this week was, the way I see everything, or you don't know, the way I see everything right now is this is a global scale of Goebbels and Hitler trying to hold on to the Third Reich so they could remain in a position to where they could feel like they could take over and be more powerful than their business associates in the money laundering banking industry that put them into business, in the United States, because the European banking industry, other than the Swiss, were dead set on sticklers about the traditional Jewish and homosexual laws on the books that allowed the good Christians of Europe to abuse the hell out of and completely, just obliterate any sign of human existence through the invention of philanthropy through Jews and homosexuals. Just and minorities. The same laws applied to black servants that migrated up from abuse or were brought up through purchase and ownership and then freed by the benevolent, godly master. And for all you idiots, and he got this on. Okay, so this Zoltan kid is how did I know? He doesn't sound like the Swedish Neff. He talks, but he didn't sit there and go sneer, deer, bert, bert. So I can I help it if fucking the Muppet Show and Jim Henson and Frank Oz ruined me for accents, or hey. Blame America, blame you. He sounded French to me. I guess they all sound French to me. The Terry guy sounds African. He's not from an African country, but he sounds African to me. His dialect and his accent has more of an African pronunciation. He has a very strong African presence in his pronunciation. So that's not European. So that was different. But he is European according to the country that he represented in the World Cup. So and love may grow for all we know. Yeah, I'm in a hurry to make sure that the technology is working properly. I'm not waiting 18 months. I'm not waiting 3 years for this or that. No, not whatsoever. Okay, because that's fundamentally wrong. That's that's completely disobeying the natural laws provided by the power of creation to sustain our planet and our people. So I'm in no way, shape, or form obligated to show any signs of what is perceived as respect for the manipulation of what the selfish are doing. I'm only required to respect the truth of their existence given to them by the power of creation. Okay. I have a definite advantage to protecting the children from the guilty, okay, than the guilty have to me, okay? But the thing about it is the innocent have become the guilty. And right now, the guilty need protection from the innocent, because the innocent think they can play God with their heads right now because of the bad computer programming, and then have quote unquote God punish and kill all the guilty. And you're like, but what are you living in by Lord's Prayer? Are you staying up for Lord's Prayer? Have you totally just gone to town and traded it straight up for the moped and totally redeemed yourself? Cyril? Yeah. Okay, special feeling, Lloyd, right? So, I'm going to kill you, Lloyd. You've had that extra set of gloves the whole time? Yeah, we're in the Rockies, right? Yeah, we'll keep immaculate records or whatever. I can't remember, whatever. We'll use IOUs, right? Oh my gosh, you guys are so broken. Okay. I don't, as far as the people being used for propaganda to keep people distracted, yeah, you can say, yeah, they're broken and they're stupid because they're being programmed. But you got to understand, I'm being programmed. And I was being programmed and bombarded and manipulated more extensively, more excessively, and more than any of you. Okay. And they basically came and admitted it to me in Cochise County at Fort Huachuca back in 2009. And they've been abusing me and laughing about it. You'll never be able, you don't have enough money to fix all these people's technology. I signed up to protect people because I'm a hero. You're a goddamn hero, And I'm nice to the guy, okay? And he should know who the fuck I am. He's here on special assignment from the military. He should sit there and say, you're right, I'm wrong. I signed up for this and it was stupid, just like you said to all the guys when you were in the military, and then got out because it's genocidal and you wanted to spend time with your family. And the whole reason why you signed up in the military was to be able to afford and have a family and protect and take care of your family to the best of your ability once you got out, went to college, and got your job, and get your family out of the carbon emission cesspool of this Phoenix and get them up to Flagstaff or wherever it's where they have a better quality of life. Because we were taught to be selfish and think of ourselves, and that there was nothing we could do as one individual to radically change the entire dynamic of thoughts, words, and actions of the entire populace, because of how much we were abused and manipulated by the selfish. Okay. Every time I had thoughts about being the focal point, not the great changer, but the focal point of change, to radically change, to humbly understand the natural laws provided by the power of creation for us to love one another, I would think I was having delusions of grandeur. But I knew I wasn't. I'd have these long, extensive prayers and conversations with Steve Biko and Bob Marley. And then I was going to write a book about it, but I didn't want to write the book about it because I didn't want to offend the Bikos and the Marleys using their family member in prayer to write this amazing novel that made me the most successful novelist in my generation. And now it's 2026, and I've tried desperately to get across to the Marley family about what Bob told me in prayer back in the 1980s or 90s in that book, Street Jesus, that I was going to write and publish. And it probably would have never got off the ground. Or I would have had to use different people. I would have had to fictionally change the names of the people that he talked to. And then that would have taken out a lot of the substance in the book for the book to, I'd have to go on completely James Michener, with Hawaii and the Hawaiians. People would have known I was talking about Biko and Marley. Okay. But they would have been Barley and Miko or something. I don't know. Okay. So it had to be something that, okay, they know who he's talking about, but he's saying someone else. His name's Bill. He's Bill, and he's Eddie. Remember Steve Edison. So, Eddie from South Africa and Bill from Jamaica. Okay. Only Bill would be from Haiti, and he would be from Rwanda. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Namibia. There you go. Okay. You're so bad. What was his name again? That sprinter that I liked a lot. When they had all the top sprinters in the world, and they were having, when it was Carl Lewis and all those guys, and the one I liked the best, my favorite sprinter, was I bought the Sports Illustrated and read the article. It's Frank something, I can't remember his name, but he was from Namibia. Okay. And I was rooting for him because he was from the poorest country, the exploited country. So I wanted him to win the Olympic gold medal in the sprinting. Just by, take a look at me now. He overcame the odds, his odds, the odds against him to be the fastest man on the planet, were radically more stacked against him than they were against Carl Lewis or Ben Johnson or some of the other guys. And what was the other guy? The guy from, I liked him. He was one of my favorite sprinters. Linford Christie, that was his name. And then Frank Fredericks, was it? I think it was Frank Fredericks from Namibia. And Linford Christie. Okay. And I liked Linford Christie. He was one of my favorite sprinters, Linford, anybody remember Linford Christie? Right? Like on those ridiculous YouTube videos about Mike Tyson fighting this man, it's Frank Bruno, yeah. And he wasn't that big. You guys exaggerated it with you doctored it with technology. He was not a big monster. He was a big bodybuilder type. Yeah. Okay. So was Mike Weaver. So was, yeah. Lots of and like when I told God, and Mrs. Sampson got so mad at me because I explained to her my mom and my grandpa were really into boxing, and Holmes was fighting Norton. And she was telling me that Norton was going to win. I was like, well, he's a big boy. He's an ex-Marine, and he's an Adonis. He's built like a bodybuilder and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, and he's big, and but he's not going to be able to. Just because he doesn't look like an Adonis, doesn't mean that Larry Holmes ain't going to whoop his tail. Basically, it's like, why? Larry Holmes can tie his shoes without bending over, ma'am. That's my big thing was, he's got good hand speed. He moves real well. He doesn't just stand there. Okay, he's not just going to stand there and let Norton get in, the black Irish brawler bodybuilder, right? And go in and just beat the hell out of him. He's going to stand and he's going to jab and he's going to jab and he's going to jab. Norton's going to try to get him in, tight quarters and beat him up. And Holmes isn't going to let him. And Holmes is going to jab him and jab him and jab him and jab him. And then when Norton gets frustrated, he's going to come in swinging, and then Holmes is going to look for an opportunity, and then wham, uppercut, wham, hook. He's going to hit him. He does it with everybody. I've watched him. He's trained himself. He's got these distinct advantages to most heavyweights. And then they thought, well, Cooney was even bigger and had a longer reach, but he wasn't as physically gifted or skilled. So he kept, because he had long hands, he was coming with this uppercut. He kept, with the ref, this is my style. This is my uppercut, and he kept hitting Holmes in the nuts hard, unloaded and just wham, And I'm sitting there. I remember watching that fight and thinking, poor Mrs. I could feel Larry's wife, that son of a bitch. You do that to a man's genitalia. He did it 3 times in one fight, even when you're wearing a cup and protective gear. Okay. It is brutal to do to a person's body, right? And we should not do that to each other's bodies. We should not be. It happened to Jim Brown, a lot. Okay. That's why he hated white people, especially white men. Those faggots in the NFL, He hated them. They would get you down in the pile, and they would grab and squeeze and hit your genitalia. Okay. And that hurts. Okay. It's one of the most vulnerable, weakest parts of your body. Okay. And you're big and strong and can run people over and run right over them, and stiff arm and run right over them. He's in the pile, linebackers, cornerback, whoever, all these big tough guys, wanting to win the game. And hitting him in his genitalia. Why do you think he only played 9 years? Why do you think he just finally quit and got into acting? Okay, he could have set or broke every record. But the marketing changed, and then if you tried to do that, and the team that had the star told about what the other teams did, then they would say, hey, we're going to find your guy, your guy is a nobody, and you get all these nobodies that will come in and be the Hanson brothers. We'll kick the Hanson brothers out of the league if they try to take out our star. People don't, sexy's the thing now. Watch that thing on the sexiest 20 women black singers and stuff, and when they got at the very end with Mary Wells and Phyllis, Esther Phillips and all that stuff, they just pushing it now. No. That's not true. Okay. No. People were into Esther Phillips and Mary Wells because of their voices. People were not sexually attracted to Mary Wells and Esther Phillips. Okay, they were to a lot of those actresses that they showed earlier on the thing. They just didn't have as voices that people liked as much or enjoyed as much. Now Billie, yes, but by the time Billie was, Billie, when she was shown to the public, she oozed sexuality. She was very sexually attractive. She was a prostitute that paid everybody's bills from the time she was 12, and you could feel the pain in her stuff. And she, so Billie being at the top, you're like, yeah, okay, I went through it all. But, then when with Florence Ballard, putting Florence Ballard in there and not Diana Ross, that's just being chocolate. That's just being downright opposite. That's not true. She started the group. She got them all together. But that's like saying the girl in SWV that was the backup singer was more successful and more influential than the girl that she had in her church that's saying, I get so we can. That's not true. Okay, that's just a fabrication to do that whole, stuff about we all have this important influence on the world. We all do. We're just being humble. Bullshit. Okay, just forgive, debt, and trespass, loved one, eternal faithful peace, and you won't have to worry about any of this propagandized with that same voice, if it's the same guy or using a computer program with his voice over and over again. Okay, you understand? Guys, robots and computer programs require the truth of creation to exist. Okay? You are fucking with shit that you need to stop fucking with, and you need to stop fucking with it now. Okay? I'm gonna load this one up. Peace out.